Welcome back to your Feel Good Friday morning as we count down towards the weekend. We've had a lot of silly fun today, but it's time to get quite serious. Why? Because we're going to talk about our mental well-being in our little health and wellness segment right now. This is something that does affect a huge amount of us, either directly or indirectly. We are talking about self-image. When is it good? When is it warped? And to help us do this is Dr. Roux, psychologist extraordinaire, who has helped us unpack some very complex issues. And I'm guessing this is that. Something that we often overlook or we'll dismiss as being not that damaging to us, but it's something that affects so many people. What are we talking about when we talk about self-image, in particular with body dysmorphic disorder?
Well, self-image is our perception of ourselves psychologically and physically. Now, when we specifically talk about body dysmorphic disorder, we are talking about the distorted view or perception that we have about our bodies, particularly. Now, so that's an exaggerated kind of negative way that we look at a specific part of our body, usually a different, more than one aspect. Like people would have, for example, the feeling that there's something terribly wrong with their nose. So they would actually not even go out of their house. So it actually is quite an extreme version of not liking aspects of yourself.
What feeds this? Is it the public image, the messages that we are set from the media? Is it something that happens within us in childhood development? How does this come about? Where does it set in for a person in most cases?
Yeah, see, it develops from a very early age. I mean, our self-image has been created like right from the start, the reflection from a mother and significant others around us. But specifically with body dysmorphic disorder, it's something that would develop later on. It's almost like an anxiety about not being socially acceptable, and then you, in a way, project it on a specific aspect of yourself, like your nose, your hair, your weight, and then you say, like, obviously, I'm not socially acceptable because of these things, so then you preoccupy on those things all the time.
Which is so crazy when you consider how different we all are from one another, that we're all striving for this ridiculous sort of self-image. Now, anorexia nervosa, how does that differ from dysmorphic disorder?
The two diagnoses overlap. So with body dysmorphic, you have various aspects. So there's multiple aspects, like I said, nose, hair, body, weight, for example. But with anorexia, it's actually just the fear of getting overweight. So you would find that weight loss is much more extreme. And also the underlying dynamics, that's what causes anorexia, is different from the body dysmorphic. For example, it would be a fear of the young girl and even sometimes boy to grow up. So they fear the kind of social consequences of becoming an adult socially and sexually. So it's a kind of a resistance that they have. So to put it literally, they want to become smaller, like a little child again. So they don't want to grow up.
That is incredible. Now, I'm glad that you brought up in some cases men. I suppose there is the perception that these are disorders that affect women predominantly. Is that the case? Are men susceptible?
You get a certain small percentage of men that also develops anorexia, and with the same dynamic. But you would also get the kind of the extreme opposite. So it's almost like a paradox. Now, you can see them if you go to the gym where these extremely built guys are. I'm not talking about a good physique. I'm talking about a physique that actually becomes physically very uncomfortable to carry. So they lose a perception of what is actually a good body, and they actually just keep on growing that muscle. So they can't actually see themselves properly, and it's never big enough. Like an anorexic girl is never thin enough.
Yeah, I've actually spoken to a lot of fitness models who eventually reach that gateway where they say they feel trapped in their lifestyle because they just can't let it go. They want to get out, but they have this desperate need to get bigger. All this being said, how do we identify it as someone who is in a partnership or with someone that we love, and what do we do about it if we've identified it either within ourselves or within someone else?
When we realize that somebody is actually excessive in their things, so it's like the diet becomes excessive, there's almost like all their joy disappears because they're just focusing on this aspect. And obviously you would also physically see that their body is actually becoming distorted, like either too thin or too big.
Yeah.
And there would be also a kind of anxiety and fear and social withdrawal. All of those symptoms would actually also appear. And then you will realize to say there's some problem here. And obviously when it becomes extreme, you have to refer them to a proper person to treat.
To a psychologist, doctor, thank you so much. You've actually really blown my mind a little bit. I hope this identifies with you in terms of what you can do about it if you've got someone close to you experiencing this. And if you'd like to go into greater depth, this afternoon at 3 o'clock on Doctor's Orders, we're going to be getting inside our heads. Let's take a deeper look right now.